everyone. It's those good old-fashioned values, and we are not doing a season of TV this week because after South Park Season 3, or technically during South Park Season 3, the creators had a temporary bout of madness and decided to make a movie at the same time that they were doing the TV show. And
not like they'll ever do that again.
Yeah.
Crazy thought.
Yeah. And they did this, and it turned out, I think, really fucking well, but we'll talk about that later. So we are talking about 1999's musical South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. And since this one's a big occasion, I decided to get a big guest. Felix is, after about a year or so, back on the show. Felix, how are you doing?
I'm good. I really loved watching this. I've always been kind of like a Matt and Trey defender, you know?
Yeah.
Matt and Trey, it's easy to, make fun of, the stupid guys who are like, oh, I wonder what Matt and Trey's take on this would be. But that's everyone now. Everyone is they do that, but they're like, oh, I wonder what Ted Lasso would say about Afghanistan. It's how everyone sees the world. Everyone made fun of those guys, but everyone's the same person. But I like Matt and Trey because, I think, they're, hitting, Ted Williams numbers. Just, an incredibly high batting average when you look at their sheer output. And, there are some, season episodes and, even entire seasons where it's I don't watch it consistently anymore like I did when I was a kid. But, how often they're, not just, funny, but, very, really funny like this movie is. It's amazing. And I also, Spencer alluded to it where it's, they were doing an entire season and wrote and made this movie. There's this, old Juno Diaz quote he had, where he's basically talking about how writers are lazy, and it's yeah, Juno Diaz, I guess, is he's I forgot what he did actually, but I remember it being bad. But he was right when he said this, that he talked about being in college and seeing the D1 athletes get up every day at 6 and practice their thing, trying to get better at it and obsessing over it, and then going to classes, and then talking about how writers would just live this libertine lifestyle and then talk about how fucking hard it was to even start working and never do it. And then he would go, well, do you want a job doing this or not? Do you actually like doing this? Because it doesn't seem like you give a shit. Yeah. And Matt and Trey are two of the only people who have achieved success and had continued success where they are kind of taking at this like athletes.
Yeah.
Where they're doing as much work as humanly fucking possible. And it is very impressive.
And it's also, I think you're totally right about that. And also, it's very, obviously writers are going to be lazy because they're going into, the one profession where just, having ideas is basically the entire description of the thing. But, oh, yeah, my job is thinking. But I think a big part of Matt and Trey, because they have the huge fucking stores of energy and they work on 3 projects at once and they're all great. It feels like they're even have you ever seen them in the writer's room, behind the scenes footage and stuff?
No, I haven't.
It's literally, and I'm sure this is a lot of writer's room, but theirs seems really, really, maybe not improvisational, but it seems they're, I just watched one before coming on here, and it was literally just them sitting in a room just riffing for what looked like hours and hours, without recording anything, and it's it feels like they're just it feels like they're writers they're filmmakers first, then they're comedians second, and then they're writers, and I think that informs a lot of how they get a lot of what comes out in their output or whatever.
Absolutely. They're one thing that really fucking really shocked me a lot while watching this is that the premise of this and the construction of this is it's pretty elaborate. They're doing Les Miserables. It's pretty amazing. But the actual jokes, they seem to have come out in such a natural way.
Yeah.
That you can tell the ease and relaxed nature that came out. It's not you watch a Michael Shore era sitcom or even a lot of adult animation, you can tell that people are plugging things into formulas. It's the same as writing viral tweets because they're really just the same type of jokes. But everything in South Park is very no, this is legitimately what these guys think is very funny, and it is. Like
Yeah,
the success rate's incredible.
They're like very idiosyncratic guys, and then like you look at like their output. Even still, I think like they're still like doing better work than a lot of TV shows. And then it's
Absolutely.
and then you look at like the other sitcoms, which are like, yeah, this was like a former, Afghani child prostitute, and like every 5 minutes he looks at the camera like, well, that happened, and it's like, what, like, who's working here? Yeah,
this
yeah.
movie,
I'm at it, Twitter.
for sure.
yeah, this movie catches me off guard with how funny it is for, I think, that reason, because like I don't remember any of like the classic bits aside from the musical numbers, and then it just kind of throws me off because the jokes just flow so naturally with the story. And I just, one of my favorite line reads of all time is when they're in the class and then Carton just asks Mr. Garrison, how would you like to suck my balls? And then he just switches over to the megaphone. How would you like to suck my balls?
Oh, God,
and it's so
yes.
stupid and simple, but like just the delivery is perfect. The way it flows out of the story is perfect. The way it just cuts to Mr. Garrison just...
How would you like to go see the school counselor?
How would you like to suck my balls?
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Actually, what I said was... How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison?
Shocked at it. It's so good. I like they're... Especially in the first like 20 minutes or so, they just like are doing rapid fire joke after joke after joke, and all of them flow really naturally.
Yeah, and like looking at that, especially when this is probably at like season 3 of South Park, so this is probably like the most like culturally relevant they've ever been in terms of like sheer peak. You look at the passion, you can tell that they, I have a few more complaints and grievances. I do like the movie overall than you guys do, but I can tell that like, no, they worked their ass off in this, and there's something like 1,000 times more like passion, talent, and vision in this than like something like the fucking Simpsons movie, which felt like an excuse to make a movie.
It's hard to overstate. For a lot of people who like either weren't alive or like were just like too young to be culturally abreast of these things, Matt and Trey were at like the height of their cultural powers when this came out. Like they were gods. It's hard to describe because it's hard to even think about now because it would be hard to imagine like sort of edgier comedic figures being in the space they were, where they're invited to everything. Everyone wants to know them. Like fucking George Clooney is it's like, and still, like, their desire at the end of the day was just to work their asses off. You compare that to someone like Matt Groening, who, like, in a similar moment for him, where he's at the height of his powers, he's like, yeah, I'll go on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. And Matt and Trey are just like, no, we want to do more work. Like, let us do more work.
Yeah. No, they...
You know what? Maybe the libertarians have a point, because it seems like...
Yeah, no,
they're a lot stronger on this stuff.
Yeah, goddamn. All these good Democrats, like the moment anyone, all these like nerdy people, like they like get good at something for like 20 years, and then the first time anyone like gives them credit, they're like, I want to buy a 15-year-old, and Matt and Trey, who've like been like nerds forever, like they could do whatever they wanted, anything, and they're just like, oh, what if we did like Les Miserables about a clit?
Yeah, no, literally, it's like the difference where they're like, like Matt Groening's politics, like as you say, they're just like lib stuff, and then he's like, yeah, I love fucking children, and then Matt and Trey's politics are just like, we liberals.
If you like UBI, you should be put in a camp.
They are literally the same, like those like really hack tweets about like, these are the same to me. That's like actually them. And what they do is like, all right, well, let's work like 130 hours a week and make Les Mis and a season of TV at once.
Well, I think it's also worth pointing out, because where we are with the kind of comedy people expected, that was like that kind of worldview and thought process was most of like the really talented, really funny guys that came out of like say did most of the comedies of like 80s and 90s stuff. Like most of the people who were on SNL and stuff like that had basically the same worldview of Matt and Trey, although with less like sheer fucking willpower to make their stuff than they did.
Yeah, for sure. Ghostbusters is basically this movie. They should have had I think it would have been really like really classy of them to have a cameo from the Groundhog from the fucking golf movie.
Dude,
I don't know.
what
where
if
this
Bill
is going.
Murray was in this? That'd be pretty epic.
What if Bill Murray was in this and like halfway through he like ate some freaking bacon?
Do you guys know
Yeah.
what I would? Do you guys know what I would do if I was like as famous as Matt and Trey in 1999?
Yeah, what would you do?
Bill Murray, whiskey. Enough said.
I'd get Megan Fox and the lady from MythBusters to be in my movie.
Yeah.
See, the serious answer I thought you were going to say was someone like DMX, Felix.
Felix just making Belly again, basically.
I would actually. I would just do like a shot-for-shot remake of Belly, but with like NBA YoungBoy.
Yes.
That's like what I would actually. That's like the dumb shit I would do.
Yeah.
If I was like overnight, if like Halsey or someone was like, I love this podcast, but this guy in particular, he's the best guy on it. And like suddenly I'm just thrust. I just have these powers I didn't have before. Like I'm invited to everyone. Everyone like likes me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I want to make a live action Berserk movie starring Lil Durk. And they would have to do it. And
Yeah.
so like overnight I would destroy my powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you get 1 day to make a movie and you buy the Evangelion rights from Ono and then you just make it with every rapper who like the FBI has in the black site.
Yeah, I just like
Yeah.
I combine all the things I like.
Yeah.
And Dark Souls is there.
Yeah.
And you destroy all your powers, and you have to like spend the rest of your career just like doing a podcast with Adam 22, basically.
Yeah, every 6 hours for the rest of my life, Adam 22 is texting me, "What's the vibe?"
See, I was thinking Felix becomes the fourth McElroy brother.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And it's just like everyone around me is like too uncomfortable to bring up the idea that I could have been like a Spielberg type figure, and I just like fucked it up on her. Like no one can really like. It's just too fucked up to even think about that I did that.
Someone like vaguely references that, and you have like a Travis McElroy style like serious meltdown on the show. Okay, we should get back on topic. I want to say, so I'm gonna put this out there about South Park the movie. This is like we it's parodying Les Mis, it's parodying the Disney Renaissance, it's parodying like classic musicals like Oklahoma. This is one of the best musicals of the past like 25 years or so.
Absolutely.
I am like, okay, Trey, very talented composer, very talented songwriter. Given the insane schedule and like, the fact that they are comedians and like to fuck around with this stuff, you would not expect this to be as good as it is. But like, there's like 13 or so musical numbers in this, and I think like 8 or 9 of them are like Pantheon level good. It's
yeah,
insane.
they're fucking bangers.
Yeah.
I definitely have problems with this, but I think when it is added in musical, not just with like the songs themselves, but how it like uses leitmotifs, how it like ties things together when it decides to use song numbers and stuff. It's all that is the stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And think this movie is at its best. It is a very good musical.
I mean, you can tell it's a fucking great musical because they do the one thing that like half of all musicals have ever done well, which is like do the great end of Act 1, like leading into intermission song and pull it off. Like when you mix all of the fucking like songs and all of the thematic musical elements you have, and like a lot of the time that fucking sucks. Like it's slog to sit through, and now it's like, but when you pull it off, it's like, no, these guys have something. For sure.
That was the moment I was thinking of. It's like, this is the like, oh, this is a good musical.
Yeah.
As the guy here with the least knowledge of like what makes good musicals in general. Though. So
there's I feel like when people do musical numbers in comedy, like I am particularly thinking of like shit like How I Met Your Mother, where it's like it's this annoying. There's this thing that's happened in comedy, I'd say, in the last like 15 or so years, and I'm probably gonna just. This isn't even right, but I'm going to blame Judd Apatow for it because he does like need to be put in front of a military tribunal for funny people. We're just going to say. I mean, it's probably more. This
knocked
is
up by like a stun baton or something.
Yeah, this is probably more Michael Shore, but like there will be like a musical type number, but then it's always like a winking thing, like, "Oh, isn't this ridiculous?" And it's like, okay, well, if you don't think it's good, like, why am I watching? Like, what's like? Oh, the joke's on me, the viewer. Like, what the fuck? I don't like this. But with this, like, as you've alluded to, the music actually, like, it fits, like, a narrative theme. Yeah. It matters where the music is. It's, like, well arranged. They actually, like, in typical Matt and Trey fashion, like worked their asses off on this.
Yeah.
And like it's legitimately something they're like kind of incredible at, like in a way that defies reason.
Yeah. With most other, like, you know, what you'd expect is like it's like the music, like, you know, when shows like How I Met Your Mother or what have you do musical numbers, it is like sort of like a Deadpool like winking thing, like, haha, this is goofy, we're doing a musical number, where this is like,
oh folks, did you hear Spencer doesn't like Deadpool?
Yeah, my grudge against Ryan Reynolds knows no end. But it is, they do it like kind of the annoying winking thing, where here it's like, even as they're pretty like, you know, harshly parodying a lot of stuff, like, you know, the Satan musical number is a send up of like the really awful Grammy bait songs, like, you know, fucking A Whole New World from Aladdin, or that Elton John song from The Lion King, or just
or
like
the song that they eventually lost the Oscar to.
Yes!
The You'll Be in My Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, the Phil Collins one,
Which is, I'll defend that movie to my death, but like, yeah, Disney is not very subtle about that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like especially during the Eisner years, they
Yeah.
like their dream goal was to be Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Do you think that like Disney, like they're so threatened by Matt and Trey that they like paid for all those shitty tweets that people did in 2015?
Yeah.
Where like it would be like a guy who like has posted the N-word 50,000 times on something awful, being like, I think Matt and Trey are responsible for a lot of anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Bob Iger invented the term South Park.
Well, did they pay you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was trying. I like.
Get his ass. Ooh.
I was hoping a girl would see it. None of them did.
Yeah.
Girls love it when you take accountability for being racist.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is funny how they just like not only needle them, but just do their job better than them, basically, because like Up There is better than pretty much any of like those Disney Renaissance or DreamWorks from the same era, like I Want musical numbers. The
Yeah.
expository opening number, Mountain Town, is better than, like, you know, most of the stuff. I know the one from Aladdin, the Arabian Nights one's pretty good, but like
That was not the Oscar bait song.
No, I was
The
talking about the
intro
expository.
song.
I was talking about the expository number.
I thought we were still on Oscar bait for some reason.
No,
I'm like,
no.
That
It's
was
Whole New
like
World
the
is
like the
Aladdin.
one with the short guy.
Yeah. No, Arabian Nights is the opening,
yeah.
opening Meet the World one, and they do that with Mountain Town, and Mountain Town's better than like any of it.
Yeah, Mountain Town fucking rocks.
Like Mountain Town, like most of the songs that I definitely liked. Mountain Town was just kind of like, yeah, okay. And it's an intro musical number. It didn't. It was one of the two songs that didn't really click with me in the movie, even if most of them did.
Yeah, it's expository, but like it's way more fucking economical than like half the shit you just said. Like literally, like what 90% of those songs are just about like placing the setting, and this is like no, it gets all of the characters' motivations in like
that is
in what 2 minutes of song, and it really like it and it also sets it within like a setting. Like it's one of the better. Yeah. Sorry.
I do like how it ends with the them arriving at the movie theater and getting denied and kicking off the plot. That I will say is clever. I just, you know, it's not something I would go back to listen to as opposed to other songs in the movie.
That's fair. No, I really like it. You know, there's a lot of other, like, we'll just kind of go through them. Really, I mean, Blame Canada is really fun.
Blame Canada is great.
Whenever this feels like such like a it feels kind of Reddit to admit, but I really do love when Robin Williams did it at the Oscars. I thought that was like pretty.
That was
cool.
epic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is epic, but like it did make me like smile a little bit. I think because Robin Williams was
Ty,
very
we're talking
charming.
about how great the South Park movie is. We can afford to be a little epic today.
Yeah, Blame Canada's great. La Resistance is great. I like how
La Resistance.
I like how also when they were doing a song that's outside of Trey's range, they would hire like professional singers to like kind of sneak in here and there. Like Up There, when he does that like insane high note at the end, they got Michael McDonald from Steely Dan to do it.
Fuck, did they really?
Yeah,
I did not even know that. That
that's
fucking
a good gift.
owns.
Yeah. They got Michael McDonald. They got the guy, I think the lead from the contemporaneous Phantom of the Opera to do La Resistance.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's incredibly funny. Like the George Clooney thing we've already covered. Like, oh, isn't it so funny that George Clooney, like the fucking hottest guy in the world, quote unquote, for like 20 years, was like, oh man, I really want to be these guys' friend. But it's insane how many people, just like go like, can you please just put me in to do like a line in your fucking movie?
Oh, no,
and
like
it's like, and they
Hetfield.
have like. Yeah, and they have like 10 Oscars. And
I have some insight on this.
Hit it. Okay.
I have been at like maybe 1/1,000,000th of Matt and Trey's power, in the best of times.
Yeah.
I've had times where everyone loves me. I've had times where everyone hates me. And like the big thing I've learned over the years is that, like, personally, there's really no difference. It's kind of the same thing. But the only difference is that, like, people who like objectively like do something that's like more impressive or like has more social cash than the thing you do, like desperately like do want to seem cool by you.
Right.
And even if it's people you've made fun of, they do like they desperately want to appear like cool. Even if it's people who have like tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars, even if it's people who like have everything that anyone could want in life and a career. There is like, especially among celebrities who like are, anyone who has any success in media is a fucking insane narcissist. And even if you are good at like turning things off and siloing things, you do like kind of want everyone to like you. And I think multiply that like by 1,000,000 to where Matt and Trey were. Like, of course fucking George Clooney. Like, of course all these people were like, yeah, no, put me in. Put me in.
Please, I'll do anything. Just don't think I'm a dry dick rando, please. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, they got James
I'll do the
Hetfield.
poo. I can do the poo.
They got Minnie Driver is in it briefly, I think. There are like and apparently like when the first season really blew up, they basically got to take their pick of who was in the show. Like they were like the calls were just like constantly coming in. I like how for the first season it's like, who will be the perfect like celebrity guest for us to get? Let's get Robert Smith from The Cure just because we're big fans.
Awesome.
Not like,
Awesome.
Yeah. That's like what I would do. That's just like, I just like a guy who I'm a fan of, even if he's
That's
not
what
an
you
actor.
do with the
It's
show.
like,
It's like someone who you just want to meet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really cool.
No, if you don't do that, you're a fucking loser.
No.
For
What
sure.
would Brian Boitano do is a great number. Up there, obviously, like potential best one. La Resistance is great. The only ones, I don't know if you all will disagree. We'll just kind of go around and say if there's any ones that we didn't feel. The only ones that I, to this day, don't really click with me fully is the Saddam Hussein one.
Yes.
Really?
That one, I don't know. That one does feel a little epic. Like some of the social commentary in the movie. We'll talk about it, but it does feel a little epic. And that one, it doesn't really work as well for me. And the Big Gay Al one, it kind of feels like an afterthought. But they're still fine.
The Big Gay Al one, I feel like that's more the point where like it is supposed to be like a filler distraction song, so I can kind of accept it being a little, kind of. But I'm going to come out and say this now. I think Saddam is the worst fucking thing in this movie. I did not laugh once at the Saddam jokes. He's just annoying. That's all I really like.
It's just
like even
it's
ignoring the
epic.
political stuff, he just sucks in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like an epic. Like I was when I was watching it, I was like, conceptually, it's like kind of funny that like Satan and Saddam are in like a Will from Will and Grace like type gay relationship. Right. Like that's a funny concept, but just like they're a little too epic to like hit the exact like contours of it that could make that bit like really good. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you're dealing with Matt and Trey, you are going to get some like epic bullshit, but they're not like with them. It's not like an epic movie type thing where it's like, oh, this is like we have to do this. It's more like no, like those types of guys, even if they're like incredibly fucking talented like Matt and Trey and have such a high hit rate with other things, that is legitimately also the type of thing they think is funny. So you have to like take the good with the bad there. I did I have to say one musical number that I think is amazing that I haven't heard mentioned yet, Uncle Fucker. I love Uncle like that is both like thematically for like I think the broader joke of what Terrence and Phillip are is so fucking good that they suck. It's so funny. It's so funny, and that the song's kind of like annoying. Like it's so good,
and
they did
also
such a
that
good
like
job with it.
it's kind of South Park, like, or it's at least like the most uncharitable, like view of what South Park is.
Yeah, it's them looking at themselves and being like, "This is what we look like to people who like aren't into this," and it's like that is. It's like I would put it like it's like the evolution. It's like a step above the Itchy and Scratchy bit, which is also incredible. You know, it's taking that a step further.
Yeah,
I would also say something that kind of how important they are to the plots and like how like they're the catalyst. I thought there was a surprisingly little amount of Terrence and Phillip. I mean, I guess it could be seen as just like restraint because they're not actually that funny. But I was just like, wow, they are really just barely using them.
They're a MacGuffin more than anything. They're the thing that like the plot revolves around. They don't really have to. It's like
I guess that's fair.
But I do want to go back to the Saddam a bit because like I agree with you that like it's epic. It's get it. It's he's a freaking. What if Saddam Hussein was gay with the devil? Like sure, but. But like, and then especially in hindsight now in like 2021, the idea of like just doing all of that about like Saddam Hussein 2 years before 9/11 is fun, but whatever. But I don't know. I like, and this is very cheesy. I get it. But I'm not gonna pretend like that's not like my baseline is. I do think there was something like kind of interesting and honestly kind of nice about like the idea of giving Satan a character arc in this thing. Like it would have been so easy like they did in some of the earlier ones for like, oh, what if Satan is just like, what if he's just being an asshole just because he's freaking evil. But I like that it's like, no, they kind of like built out this whole dynamic and like they gave Satan somewhere to go with it. I thought that was a more interesting take than like it really had a right to be. And
Satan is a great character.
I think the Hussein song was like I think it was good as a part of that story, even if like it is all of the fucking things you said about it.
I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, it's like I like Satan in this movie. I think I like what they do with him. I mean, it's played out because I think South Park, like so many like incarnations of Satan are looking at the South Park character, but like it is really fun. It's just I wish that like the character he was primarily acting with wasn't also the worst part of the movie. Like I wish that like Saddam could be as likable or interesting or entertaining as Satan.
But he doesn't have to be interesting because the whole point about it is like, what if your friend had an ex who sucked, but also he was Satan? Like,
well, this is my thing because it comes back to like Antichrist from American Dad, where it's just like having a villain whose personality trait is annoying just sucks for me personally.
Okay,
that's fair.
I'm not gonna make it a TV. I don't know. I liked that little angle of the story, and it was. I think Saddam worked for it, even if I think your critiques are also like
he was a necessary thing for the movie. I just wish that like they wrote him differently.
I guess we should move on to like we talked about all the musical numbers, but I think we should talk about. Oh, this movie is pretty heavily like the thrust of this movie. What it's going after really is like the MPAA and like censorship standards and basically the outlook of American culture on profanity and stuff. And I'm curious how we all think that aspect of the movie aged because it is very much of its time. It's very much of like that, late 90s culture war thing about censorship, PC culture, Tipper Gore stuff like MPAA. But at the same time, some of it does, even if it's very obvious, some of it still does have some bite, I think.
Yeah.
But I'll just go around.
I also think out of everyone, they had like some of the most right to complain about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that is my read on that, especially for the first half. But the second half, it won me over more. But in the first half, my read of the premise of this movie was like, okay, as someone who is not there, but only like knows and has been told because I've been told or read like what the controversy was. Like Matt and Trey are completely right to make the premise against that like American censorship and American like are very, very stupid. That like and that they personally have been fucked over to it, and like the reaction to South Park was a big overblown. But like just looking at it, it's like I don't know. I feel like for a while I was just like, come on, guys. I know that like this country is filled of stupid people who had a big dumb reaction to your funny cartoon, but like, I kind of rolled my eyes at it for a little bit, but it did win me over by the end.
Felix, what do you, since you you
You're
probably
old.
were you're
Oldest
dancing
person
around
who's
that.
ever been on the show or will ever be on
Yeah,
it.
500
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Born in 1958.
He's twins with Nate Ruiz. Yeah.
Felix,
I'm the born first out of the Ruiz twins.
Yeah, no, our episode with Nate Ruiz yesterday was just us like bullying him for being old. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had to let me know that I was the previous oldest guest.
Yeah.
we're doing ageism. I'm sorry.
No, but as someone who was more aware of South Park when it was at its cultural peak, what did you think of like the social satire of this regarding like the MPAA and the censorship standards, etc.?
So I at the time that was like any like kid who's sort of politically aware, that was like my number one political issue for a little bit, and I was like totally fucking on board. And even though I was like a lib kid who always had these like. You remember like individual thoughts you have from when you were a kid, and you're like, I want to like kill myself.
I was so fucking gay. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to like be given every STD at once. But one of them was like, I wish Matt and Trey were liberal.
That's great. No,
Sick. But it was like, man, they really like hit the censorship people in here. But what if they like hit the Iraq War like this? But anyway, like I after this show, I will be like trying to give myself AIDS for remembering that I had that thought. So I'll no longer be I'll be the oldest guest in memoriam. But like so the thing I liked, and I was really combing through it because it is very interesting to me, and it's very interesting because it's like, I mean, this is almost like a hackneyed point now, but I feel like the same spirit of the that type of censorship from the Christian right is like, I'm not going to say like broadly the left because that's stupid and not even really true,
Right.
but like, like the psychotic like YA people who like call somebody's grandparents when they like depict slavery or some shit. It's the same like impulse kind of, even if it's not the same thing, because the right-wing censorship was like more backed by the state, but it's still blah, blah, blah. I could go on about the differences and similarities, but I did like a lot of their central point, which I feel like escaped a lot of people and definitely kind of escaped me when I watched it as a kid, was that like the joke kind of is, well, these kids are like already shitty. Like that when the parents are talking about like Cartman's mom is talking about how Cartman used to be so nice, and it's like no all these like kids right, exactly, like no, kids suck, and like they can be influenced by things they watch, but that doesn't like. If a kid sees someone like use a racial slur in a movie and calls someone else the racial slur, well, maybe they learned it from the movie, but like knowing that it's a bad thing to say and saying it to someone, like that's already just because like a kid is evil,
right?
You know, in a way, or not even evil, just like doesn't really know what right or wrong is.
I just wanted to chime into the earlier discussion of having those thoughts and like really just like shuddering because you had that. My version of that was there's that Kyle's mom is a bitch number, which is great, and I remember thinking at the times like they should sing this song to Shirley Phelps from the Westboro Baptist Church. I just
get her ass.
I remember just thinking that like when we were watching the movie, and I just kind of had to like full body chill for a second.
Just like, I've been there.
I need to remove one of my molars for this.
When you're a little kid, you think there are like 20 million people in the Westboro Baptist Church. You think that it's like the biggest thing in America, and you have to fight it.
It's the second biggest religion after Islam.
Yeah.
It's just a multi-level. It's like just like a marketing scam, basically, just to like win lawsuit money. And then when you're a kid, it's just like, this is the biggest threat to America that exists.
Yeah, you're like, oh, George W. Bush is a member.
Yeah. Okay. Like fuck.
Your brain just like compartmentalizes everything bad and everything good into like two separate categories. I think I like only have thoughts that I would like to kill myself for now until I was like, honestly, probably like 25.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of it. Here, wait, I have a
Yeah.
really good example before we move on, which was when I was like 8. And this was something I was on for like maybe like 3 months like straight. I thought like, what if instead of like going to war, every country just chose one person and they played chess against each other, and the winner won the war.
For an 8-year-old, that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I thought that last week, so
I had one that was like, what if? Oh, fuck, this is so fucking, dude. Like I felt
do
like
it, do
I
it.
feel like capillaries bursting in my neck. But
No, I
yeah,
want to
when I
have
wa-
like a fucking bolt gun put against my head right now. We're fine.
Yeah.
We're all.
So when I was 12, I was like, what if they could get Black Sabbath back together and they sang War Pigs in front of the White House?
that's awesome. Yeah.
That would have stopped the war.
Yeah.
No one's ever tried
realized how
rocking
bad they
against.
were.
Yeah, no one's ever tried rocking against George Bush.
Andy's gonna chime in and say, so when I was 21 years old.
Yeah, I was 21. I was like, they could stop the war in Afghanistan if Sonic and all of the guys from Burger King got to the Burger King
no.
Kids Club, got together and called Obama an epic fucker.
So,
Yeah.
I want going back to the censorship stuff for just a quick second. I will say that if I like watched it in '99, I would probably be like much more like immediately like approachable because that was what like that was kind of like the prevailing majority culture at the time. Whereas as looking at a 21, I'm just kind of tired of censorship discourse. I'm just
Right.
fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel you there. There's like nothing really new to say.
Yeah.
No, it's the same fucking thing since PCU came out. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's not. You're not going to get a fresh new take on it. But like they were some of the earlier guys on it, so it's hard
Yeah,
to
that-
fault them for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be mad when you are
Yeah.
literally blazing the trail.
It's one of those things where it's like it's one of those discussions like cancel culture where it's like it doesn't mean anything. Everyone's talking about something different, and like 60% of the people involved are just trying to like just Trojan horse in like their own weird agenda. But like or just hacks. But like the process for making this movie and the amount of shit they had to deal with from the MPAA is like it's honestly pretty insane to read about. Like I watched a couple interviews with them, and they said that they were indie filmmakers before this and they were making Orgasmo, and they put in Orgasmo and they got an NC-17 rating, and they're like, okay, what do we cut in order to make this an R, since like we have to know what to cut. And then they were like, sorry, we can't tell you that because that would make us a censorship group, so you'll have to just like give us more cuts. And they're like, we don't have the money for that, so they ended up having to release the movie as NC-17. Whereas with South Park, it got an NC-17 like 6 times, and every time they would ask the MPAA, or Paramount would ask like, all right, what do we change? And then they would just provide a detailed list of what they'd have to change.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck is going on?
What wasn't there like a famous story? I might be totally getting this wrong. Where it's like the scene with Saddam Hussein and like the dildos in bed. Like they had to go through that like 7 times, and eventually they used another joke as like a sacrificial cow, so that like they would be distracted like with censoring that joke, so they could slip the dildo thing through. Am I totally making that up?
You're mixing up 2 things. The Saddam Hussein thing, they used to use like a photo of like his actual penis for that, but
Nice.
then they just had to change
Where
it
did
to
they
like
get a
dildos.
picture of Saddam Hussein's penis?
I don't know, man.
Was it in the Fappening? Or like what's going on?
I mean, like, Saddam did have some contact with the CIA in the 60s, and, like, there was probably, like, at least one, like, case officer or, like, station chief for the CIA who would do that, who is like, all right, if you're going to, like, work with us, I need to take a picture of your asshole, your cock, I need all of that. And that was probably came out in the church committee.
Yeah, one
And then-
gaping, one with the panties on, one. Yeah.
It was, it was probably one of those. There's this guy we've been watching on the stream whose name is Mead Skelton, and he's like, those like Southern guys who aren't even like, you like can't even really call it closeted because it's just like a weird type of like queeny asexual.
Yeah.
But they're like
Yeah.
45, and they're like, they just give you all. It's like they want to be caught, and they're like, well, there aren't any lucky ladies on the purview now, but
Yeah.
if I get married, there would be separate rooms for me and my wife. That type of like
Yeah.
guys who are like like neo-Confederates, but only because they like want to be in that ball that Ellie Kemper was in. Like they just want the country to be like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think
guys who are
like,
slightly too autistic to realize that they're still in the closet. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like there was like probably like a lot of CIA guys who were like that and like got a picture of Saddam's dick. And Saddam did have the, Big Dick Energy was one of the worst months on Twitter. But like, more interesting than Big Dick Energy is this. One of the most interesting people I ever knew told me that he could tell like the size of people's dicks by the size of their mouths and ears and the angle of their nose. And he did.
Yeah, the dick's
like,
made mostly of cartilage. Yeah.
Yeah.
It grows with those.
And he would say, Saddam was probably like, he had some action. He was working with a pole.
Okay.
I just know I wanted to just cut in and say that the best version of that I've ever encountered of like Queenie Southern guys is a guy who he was like a chaser, but he didn't know what trans women were, so he like you ruined the story, but
I was just waiting for it.
no, I wanted to preface it with it's not me, but he didn't know what trans women were. He just thought they were cis women who just like
Please
got
God,
penises at the store. Like they got them at the store or something and just got them attached.
Yeah. It's just like at puberty, it's like it's like Pokemon where you can give them a certain stone and they either get a penis or a vagina. Yeah.
Yeah. He also had a fetish for prostate orgasms. So he like or prostate exams.
So he's gay. Yeah.
So no, he went for prostate exams. He went to 2 separate doctors on the same day to get a prostate exam.
What the fuck, dude? You can hire someone to do that for like $100.
I love those guys. Those guys are like I've been to the South a few times. It's 48% of the male population in the South.
Absolutely.
Are those guys.
Like, if you get like a Southern dude, like if you get, you think that it's just like all just like, like racist hillbillies. It's like mostly it's like if you get a Southerner drunk, they'll just be like, I tell you what, if I look, I gotta say, I'd love to just, I'd love to experiment sometime. Is all I'm saying.
Did any of you guys ever read that article that came out in like I don't even know. I thought it was like 2017 or whatever, about like it was like a profile of just like straight guys who like have sex with like their male friends and like
Jesse Singal wrote that.
Did he really?
Jesse Singal's
That's
written that
awesome.
article like 50
I'm
times.
turning around on him. He's cool now.
I don't remember that article specifically, but I have seen a bunch of stuff like that on there. Of like, no, we're totally straight guys. That's fine. It's straight sex.
No, Felix, I think you were gonna say that he's written that article like 8 times too.
That's pretty cool. But
I mean, listen, he found a niche, man. Thinking about penises that should not be something he's thinking about.
That's like if those Southern guys though like even did that. Like there's a sociological category called like men who have sex with men, and it's like gay is. I don't know if they still use this, but it's like gay is under that umbrella. But then there's like, I don't know. It was a thing my IRC channel was obsessed with, and I have to lie about my age. 2017, when I was
back when I was 14. Yeah.
But no, yeah, like I like if those Southern guys did that, they'd be a lot less like stressed out. Like they're not even doing that. There's just like there's just like no sexual component to their life, and they like. Because, like, the thing that they like, can't be the thing they want to be. Like, they want to be John Benet Ramsey. Like, they want to be, like, in a child pageant or, like, Scarlett O'Hara.
They
like,
just
the
want to
they
be,
can
they just
like,
want to be
doesn't exist
fanciful.
anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not even, I'm not even saying they're, like, trans. I'm saying it's, like, it's
no,
like
of course not.
It's, like, something, like, it's hard to, like, we might have to invent, like, a new term for whatever the fuck, like, that is.
Yeah, I wanted to actually go back to the censorship story because what happened is they submitted to the movie to the MPAA 7 times and it got an NC-17 each time, and they basically had to yell at them into giving an R. What they would do is that they would put in a joke and then the MPAA would like not approve it. Like the scene where they're on the computer and Cartman's mom gets shit on, basically.
Right.
It was originally that she was fucking a horse, and it lasted for like 5 seconds, and the MPAA was like, yeah, you can't put that in the movie. So it's like, okay, we'll change it to she's in a shit video, and it goes on for like 3 minutes, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That is from what I have heard, a very common thing to do with like the MPA or whatever the TV censorship agency is, where it's FCC, where it's you have jokes that are sacrificial lambs that you will fight over, so you can get the jokes you really want in.
I mean, because like everyone, all they really want to do is just like feel like they're doing something. So like if you give them that like a little busy box, like you can actually, I guess, get the shit you want through. Yeah. For sure.
No, but it's even better because they made the sacrificial lamb jokes and then they let those in instead. Like they made the dirtier jokes in. No, but it is the
rocks.
MPAA shenanigans behind the scenes is just wild. And what Paramount was doing also, like Paramount wanted to tie in music video basically for MTV. And they were like, Matt and Trey were like, okay, let's do, what would Brian Boitano do? We got the band DVDA. We'll just do like a cover of that and we'll have the video for it. And then Paramount's like, no, we're going to get Kid Rock to do a song for the movie.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
And they said like, no, what? No.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, trust me, we're having Kid Rock. So I think what like they did is like Trey Parker just like took like the tape, like the master tape of some part of the movie, and he just like stuck it in his garage, and it got to the point where they were almost going to get sued, but like some MTV executive stepped in and said they can do what would Brian Boitano do. It's just insane, like basically how studios behind this just did not know what the fuck to do with South Park at all.
That's what is sort of sad watching this, is like there probably won't ever be anything like this again. Not because of like a
sausage
PC
party, but
culture or whatever. Like I sincerely think like these things move back and forth, and we're headed towards like more compartmentalization, where like there's just, I mean, if you like actually look at Netflix, it's like there's a lot of shit that's like Andrew Schultz, and then shit that's like, people talking about like just an hour of conversations with their therapist. That's like the direction we're headed in, where like there's just, you can go to one or the other. I think something like this, like a phenomenon like this won't happen again, because like I think executives and like even mid-level people at these companies are going to be so gun shy from times when this has blown up in their face that they won't let any like unknown quantity come in. Not to say that there won't be people who like start from nothing and get in there. More than, I mean, like the product that they make will be like immediately recognizable to executives, and they won't leave a lot up to chance. I feel like a lot of the success that South Park had was just that like the thing they were doing was so like, it was like trying to read a Bible passage to a dog to get the executives to understand it. So they were able to like get away with a lot of things like conceptually that I don't think they could do now.
Yeah. I mean, it took so much effort to get like the R rating back then, like in the 90s. Like imagine now when they just don't let you have R ratings unless you're fucking Deadpool or whatever.
Yeah.
So it is really, I don't know. I think that this did sort of happen like at like the perfect moment in time where they had all this cultural cash so they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to, and there wasn't enough timidness from studios, not just due to like PC reasons or whatever, but just like due to like
just pure ignorance.
Yeah, or money reasons, that they could like do all the stuff that they wanted to for this.
So one more thing I want to talk about is, how do you guys feel about the big epic climax, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, the war with Canada.
Yeah.
It's oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, well, I was gonna say actually, here, Spencer, do you want to go?
No, Ty, you can go.
Oh, okay. Wait, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, you can go.
Jesus fucking Christ.
No, I was gonna say, I think a lot of it does tie in with like another one of like the big themes that like I think is a lot like less subtle than some of the other stuff we've talked about, but it's still like I think a big like piece of DNA for this movie, which is like kind of contrasting the opinions that people have about like showing violence on TV as opposed to like showing sex or like, naughty words or whatever, which is like a through line through the whole thing. And like, I think as kind of like a culmination of that, there's not really a whole lot else they could have done. I think there's a lot of things where it's like, it feels like some of the character stories were tied up like a little messily, which like you can't really expect them not to do. Like they had a lot to fucking juggle in this, and like it's kind of a miracle that they managed to like and like, you know, tie up a lot of these loose ends at all. But like, I think in terms of like, I think it fits the arc that the movie was building through, even if there are some things like the whole anime battle with Cartman or like the
I rolled my eyes at that.
Or the thing with like, I think the thing with the clitoris, like it's kind of messy because Stan's story, it was already like very focused with just like the Gregory and Wendy stuff, and I think like the clitoris thing was like a dumb joke that kind of took a little bit too much steam out of it. But like, outside of like those quibbles, I think on the larger scale, it fit. Like the movie would not have worked if they did not do something like that.
The first time Chef just says, "Oh, you got to find the clitoris," and then realize what a horrible mistake he made.
That was a great.
Funny.
I thought, I mean, the clitoris joke was like a huge joke in my household for like months after the movie. So like, I don't think I can offer like an impartial appraisal of it. But I think, yeah, it's a stupid joke, but I found it very funny and very well executed.
I like the subversion at the end where it's like you got to find the clitoris, and then just the clitoris just says you got to be yourself or whatever. That's like a nice little flip.
Yeah. Spencer, I had a fucking real brainword moment when I was watching the climax of this movie, where I just looked at it, watching like what they're trying to do, how like the build up and lead up to this, and I went, oh my god, this is what all the Doug Walker movies are trying to be. They're all trying to be literally this.
Wow.
Oh my god. Yeah, that is true.
Andy
we'll
just
stay off
cracked
of
open
that
the
since
Rosetta Stone.
we're not doing the Doug Walker podcast here. But yeah, this literally is. It's just like To Boldly Flee is literally just his like version of like sticking it to the MPAA, but instead of being like two godly successful comedians at the height of their powers actually dealing with censorship from the MPAA.
It's one godly comedian at the height of his power, for sure.
It's two shitheads on the internet getting mad about SOPA and PIPA. That's God,
I forgot about SOPA. That was such a cool time to be online. Like, fucking in middle school being like, oh no, they're gonna and Sheep Pie is gonna shut down the internet. It fucking rocked.
That was, do you remember when, like, John Cleese would, like, release a song called, like, Fuck You Very Much, the FCC?
Yeah.
I think that's what made me get, like, a little less epic when I was, like, 14. Like, because even then I was like, this, like, kind of sucks.
They get, like, Bryan Cranston.
I just had to develop, like, a new set of thoughts that I should kill myself over.
Yeah. Getting every second stringer on the 2007 SNL cast to be like, hey, you know what? The internet should be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thought, like, after that, my thoughts were like, the game is so fucking cool. The rapper, not the meme.
Right, not the I lost the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, I love this movie. I think Ty
movie.
and Felix both do. Andy, I'm
hates
glad you
it.
liked it. Yeah.
DM Andy if you don't like it.
I don't know if I would go back to this over a lot of the other like seasons of South Park, because like I feel like South Park as a format works better in 22-minute segments, but like this was definitely, at worst, it was still very impressive for what it was.
Yeah, again, it is knowing just the insane production schedule that they had for this. It is a miracle that this is even like watchable.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They I mean, okay, this is going to be a little epic stinger at the end. They should make a movie about like the process of making this movie, cuz it's everything that went into it and like all of the fucking trials and tribulations that came into like this movie being like an extant movie. It's so fucking insane to like go through and explore.
Well,
Yeah.
they got 14 movies coming, so maybe one of them.
One of those movies will be South Park the movie.
Yeah.
I was talking to Spencer right as we got on, Ty, of just thinking of like, okay, by the time we're caught up, how many of those fucking movies will have come out? Apparently 2 of them will be out by the end of the year, which is Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm not gonna pay attention to that shit. I don't care. Like this is
What do you mean
literally
you're not
our
gonna
job.
pay attention?
This is our job. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, you mean like in between? Okay, that's
Yeah. Oh no. When we're watching it, I'll give a fuck. But like, I don't want to know what's happening with that until we have to, like, for money.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. It's just fucking. It's a really
it's a great
fucking
movie.
fantastic movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it almost made me a theater kid when I was in high school because
Instead, you just became a movie theater kid.
Which is
Yeah.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, so much worse in many ways.
Yeah.
I've seen movie theater kid Twitter. I know.
Theater kid.
On that note,
Do we have any? Do we? On that note,
Yeah.
would like to close ourselves out with more thoughts that make us want to kill ourselves. No.
Do we have anything that we might want to plug, Felix? Do you have anything you want to plug?
a Chapo Trap House?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
check
little,
it out.
Little known
Yeah.
podcast.
I just started
shit,
a
Felix,
show.
is that
I just
podcast?
started. Yeah, I just started a show. It's called "Keep on Guillotining in the Hell World." we talk about stuff like what if Roger Waters rocked out in front of Joe Biden? What would it be like?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
That's the thing I think now instead
what
of
if the
Black
wall
Sabbath.
was set in an Amazon warehouse?
yeah.
Yeah,
What if a leftist ran for president, but he pretended like he was conservative until he got in the White House?
And he rapped while he
And
was
he
conservative.
rapped.
Yeah. This is the stuff I think now, instead of the Ozzy stuff. I'm like, all that Ozzy stuff, I was a loser for thinking that. But Roger Waters? Pretty sick.
We spent an hour on Judge Joe Brown going on Bailey J's podcast.
That
once.
was we were dying at that.
I would love to see. I would love to see them have a sexual experience for sure.
Judge
Yeah.
Judge Joe Brown being I don't get why a beautiful woman like you is doing all this. The transgenders are gonna get you, Bailey J. He just doesn't know what's going on.
just her. Yeah.
Fuck.
I
All right, this has
man.
been those good old fashioned values.
Yeah, bye.
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 Yeah, bye.
Smiled upon you this day, the fate of a nation in your hands. And blessed be the children we who fight with all our bravery till only the righteous stand. You see the distant flames, they bellow in the night. You fight in all our names for what we know is right. And when you all get shot and cannot carry on, though you die, la resistance lives on. You may get stabbed in the head with a dagger or a sword. You may be burned to death or skinned alive or worse. But when they torture you, you will not feel the need to run, for though you die, la resistance lives on.
Brave Canada! Brave Canada! Because the country's gone awry. Tomorrow night these bricks will cry!
Tomorrow night, our lives will change. Tomorrow night, we'll be entertained. An execution, what a sight. Tomorrow night.
There's so much room where babies burn and flowers bloom. Tomorrow night up there is doomed, and so I will be going soon.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Pagan! You're a boner biting bastard, Uncle Pagan! Looks like we may be out of luck. Tomorrow night we're pretty fucked! Why did our mother start this war? What the fuck are they fighting for? When did this song become a marathon?
I want to
When Canada is dead and gone, there'll be no more Celine Dion!
They make your dick in half and serve it to a pig. And though it hurts, you'll laugh and dance a dickless jig. But that's the way it goes in war